Discuss with former federal prosecutor Shan Wu and Ross Garber, an impeachment attorney. Ross, let me start with you. If the judge rules that McGahn must testify, can he still refuse?
Yes, what's likely to happen is this judge is a district judge, it's a trial judge. If this judge orders McGahn to testify, there's almost certainly going to be an appeal to the D.C. Circuit and a stay in place. And then whoever loses at that stage is likely to ask the Supreme Court to get involved. So while that's all playing out, it's very unlikely that we're going to see any testimony from Don McGahn.
And ultimately, isn't there a majority support on the U.S. Supreme Court, especially now with two Trump Supreme Court justices, for a belief of very broad executive powers? Aren't they likely to lose, the people trying to force McGahn to testify?
I think it's dangerous for folks to sort of game out the Supreme Court. This is an argument that is there is no binding authority on this argument about absolute immunity. It sort of stems from the notion that Congress can't force the President of the United States to come and testify, and so they also can't then force his senior advisors to come testify. It's a position taken by presidents and departments of justice in both parties, but it's untested. And so we don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do with it.
Well, let me ask you about that, because I think there's the belief out there that executive privilege means that Congress can't force anybody who works in the White House to testify, whether it's Don McGahn, the former White House counsel, or Kupperman, the former Deputy National Security Advisor. Is that wrong?
Well, it's wrong in one sense, which is at the moment they're trying to first assert something even broader than executive privilege, which is this absolute immunity. Have to disagree with Ross a little bit. There is some precedent, because in 2008, a district court judge, Bates, really soundly rejected the idea of there being this absolute immunity, specifically citing to the Nixon case, saying that Nixon provides the authority for piercing that, and also I think drawing the common sense conclusion that if you really go with this absolute immunity, it, in his words, eviscerates Congress's oversight ability.
And Ross, what about the argument from the White House that this entire impeachment is illegitimate, it's all bogus, and they therefore don't have to cooperate? Will any court find that a reasonable argument?
I think at some point down the line, you may actually see that play out in court. You think about sort of the McGahn situation. That subpoena was issued early this year.
Yeah, before Ukraine. Yeah.
Before Ukraine and certainly before today's House vote. So I think you're going to see an argument that even if under an extraordinary situation, an impeachment, the president's advisors could be forced to come and testify, that's not the condition under which McGahn was subpoenaed. So we may see that issue play out.
Because McGahn was subpoenaed under the Mueller report for potential obstruction of justice. Thanks, Shannon, Ross. Really appreciate it.